All right, guys, we're going to get into the tactics now. Now, this is the first tactic, and as I do on some of the things that I teach, I'm going to start at the end because I want you to hear a couple of quotes at the end. So as we move through this, we have proper context. So one of my favorite statements in tactic 1, which is get real, get right, mindset and action, is this: the seeds of failure are usually sown during the times of success. That's just a great statement. That is a great statement. So I'm going to read you a couple quotes from this tactic, and you'll see how they inform what we're going to talk about. The seeds of failure are usually sown during the times of success. Another one that I absolutely love is from Chris Heller. And anybody who knows me will know why this means so much to me. But he says, you need to double your efforts to grow. Here's the part I love. That doesn't necessarily mean doubling the time spent. That's a huge one that I'm going to hit on here. And anybody who knows me knows that is absolutely a core principle for what I teach. It means doubling the focus and the intensity. Focus and intensity so that you are more efficient and effective during the time spent. Huge concept with Cultivate Wins. I'm going to hit that to the day I die, okay? So then another one that I love in here: to survive a shift, you must first make the mental shift to run towards what you most want. He didn't say run towards what you fear. He starts by saying run towards what you most want and avoid the temptation about running away from what you most fear. You are moving towards something that you want, but he's not negating the fact that when you do that, the fact is you may also be moving closer to something that you fear. But then they give us this next statement, okay? You get to choose, and your life builds from there. It is a choice, okay? You can determine what you fear is going to stop you from getting what you want. But I am going to go right back to one of our original quotes in this series. And that was, you cannot control what happens to you, but you can control your attitude towards what happens to you. And in that, you will be mastering change rather than allowing it to master you. And then Ogmandino: weak is he who permits his thoughts to control his actions. Strong is he who forces his actions to control his thoughts. So why am I talking about that? Okay? His actions controlling his thoughts. Because when we get into this tactic, it's going to say, get real, get right, mindset, and action. They could have just as easily have broken this into 2 tactics, because when you start, the first part of this chapter is all about mindset. Okay? And then it says the action shift. When they talk about shift, they're going to shift you from the way you're thinking to the way you're acting. So it completely applies to what we just talked about in the foreword and those quotes. So here's a couple things I want to share with you. He has a quote here from Harvey Mackay: decide what your priorities are and how much time you'll spend. If you don't, someone else will. So let's talk about the mental shift. The mental shift, a lot of times, is going to come down to the example that was given in the foreword, where they talk about the fact is, it's not about spending time on your business anymore. Just because you spent 4 hours, 5 hours in your business does not mean that you were real with yourself or right. Okay? That can be kind of harsh for some people to hear. Now, if you think about that yourself and you come to that realization, it may not feel as harsh. But if someone were to look at the way that you are doing business and really analyze where you are spending time, whether that be a coach, whether that be a running mate, whether that be a business partner, and they said in that open house example that was given in the forward, you spent an hour marketing and 4 hours sitting in that open house, and that 4 hours was a colossal waste of time. And the hour that you spent marketing, if you had spent 4 hours hardcore doing active marketing, but you got real. That's the title here. Get real, okay? And get right. And you got real about the 4 hours that you spent in marketing. And the only thing that you cared about was that 4 hours, not did I spend 4 hours, but did I spend 4 effective hours? Were the 4 hours that I spent on the things that are actually effective and efficient? Then I spent an hour in that open house, okay? He's shifting his mindset. from doing an hour of marketing to an hour of open house. He is getting real with what's effective. So when we talk about get real, get right, I'm talking about, and I'm pushing it a little bit farther and saying, get real. What is effective? Get real. What of your time is well spent? Okay? Now, when we go into the action part, I love what action, this point that Chris Heller says about action. Here's the thing is, yes, I want you to get real about your actions, but that doesn't mean because you're going to have to put way more effort into this action than you would when the market is easy, that means that it has anything to do with time. The first thing that we should be looking at is not how to work more. It's about being effective. So what they're talking about in these chapters is about the mindset first of not saying, okay, the mindset is I need to be willing to put in more. More doesn't mean time. More means I need to get more honest about what I'm doing and whether it's effective. More means once I realize what is effective and what isn't effective, I'm going to shift. We're talking about a shift here. We're not just talking about the market shift. We're talking about a shift in you. We're talking about a shift in your mindset. We're talking about a shift in your actions. We're talking about your shift in your ability to audit and analyze the activities and the results that you're getting in your business and shift them to where they need to be and put the time there. That's the type of shift that we're talking about right now. I love that this book is called Shift. There's so many areas that we can talk about shift in business, in real estate, in our mindset, in our spirit, our soul, and our actions. And that's what they're talking about here. So again, let's just read. You can tell I get passionate about this stuff. I can't even read this. I can read that first word, but not, I can't read the rest without my glasses. You need to double your efforts to grow. Double your efforts specifically where? He didn't say double your time. He said double your efforts. Find what is effective and double your efforts there. That doesn't necessarily mean doubling the time spent. It means doubling the focus and the intensity so that you are more efficient and effective during the time spent. Now think of what you know about Cultivate Wins. And maybe Cultivate Wins is a new concept in a new company for some of you. That's fine. Okay. But in short, and Chrissy can put it up on the screen here, we live by the 5x5. And the 5x5 is that we don't do anything that can't meet the measure and be challenged by, is it effective? Is it efficient? Now here's the 5. Is it scalable, duplicatable, freakishly predictable, effective, and efficient? That's what he's talking about here, okay? And when we talk about freakishly predictable, you're going to see I've talked about that a little bit already in this course, okay? Nobody can tell me that a shift isn't predictable. It is predictable. The seasonality, that's a shift. That's predictable, okay? The fact that there's going to be a national time of shift, whether it's every 3 years, 5 years, or 8 years, we know that it is going to happen. The market does not stay consistent. So that part is predictable. Do we know what date? Do we know how it's going to happen? No. But we know that it is predictable. Okay? So what Cultivate Wins does is we measure everything against that 5. And then everything that we produce, every system that we produce, we need to make sure that they're scalable, duplicatable, freakishly predictable, effective, and efficient. And based on what we build that meets all 5 of those criteria, does it create for both us and everybody we interact with peace, contentment, joy, and is it fully informed by gratitude and compassion? Why do those 5 matter? Because if you're going into a shift, do you really think you're the only one who's stressed out? Okay. What about your customers? What about your business partners? What about your partners that I would say are your lenders, your closers, your title, your attorneys, your appraisers? They're stressed out as well. Okay. Are the systems that you're building accounting for the predictable fact that there is going to be a shift in this market? And so we need to shift our mindset and shift where our activities and where our time is spent and our level of intensity of them. And if we do that properly and we build systems that are scalable, duplicatable, freakishly predictable, effective, and efficient, that we can do that in a way that it brings for both us and everybody we interact with, our vendors that I just mentioned, our buyers, our sellers, it can produce, allowing them and helping them to find peace and contentment and joy and be fully informed by gratitude and compassion. Okay? Everything that I do isn't so that I have peace and contentment and that I have joy in my business, in my life. It's to also produce those things so that my customers, my vendors, my buyers, my sellers, my wife and my kids, everybody I interact with, that what I have created over here in the actions and the times that I am spending are things that are effective and efficient, so that it produces these things for them. So when we talk about tactic 1, get real, get right, mindset and actions. Oh, yes, 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 yes. That's all I got to say about that particular tactic. I am all about mindset, anybody who knows me. And I am all about actions in context. Actions in the context is this. Is the actions that we're taking, are they scalable, duplicatable, freakishly predictable, effective, and efficient? What they're talking about here is taking time to get real and get right about determining what your mindset should be, and then you're going to make the shift to make actions. It's a shift from mindset to actions, and that those actions are all freakishly over the top effective and efficient. I hope that helps you with tactic 1, because everything that tactic 1 talks about runs through the rest of the tactics. All right, let's go to tactic 2.